So, I had every intention on coming here every Friday and recording a video. But, because it's been snowing and the weather has been so fucked up, every Friday, for the past couple of Fridays, my son has been home with me working my damn nerves. Okay, typical preteen stuff. Always in the refrigerator, eating up all the damn food, hogging my computer, hogging up the two TVs that we have cable on. Just typical preteen stuff, but I can't complain. But, I can't record videos while he's home. It just does not work. He's always in the background making noises, asking questions, laughing at everything that I say. So I'm like, I'll wait till you're at school before I get on here and do another video. But anyway, today's video is basically me reading another short story to you all that I actually wrote back in 2009. I wrote this one in 2009. And what it's basically about, a brothel owner in the late 1800s to early 1900s. And I found that era really, really fascinating. As a matter of fact, I was reading a book some time ago about Storyville, or Basin Street in Louisiana, where they had like this long row. It was like a strip full of brothels back in the day, and it was booming, and you know, most of the brothel owners were just making just tons of money for, you know, back in the 1800s, making a ton of money. They, you know, a lot of, you know, these up and coming new jazz singers would come and perform at some of these brothels. I mean, it really was a big deal back then. Back in the day, you know, prostitution wasn't illegal. So it was, you know, it was just commonplace for you to have a nice little brothel that was also like a little, a bar. And it was the place where the judge and the sheriff would come in for a nice dinner, a drink, and then later on he'd get him a nice little, you know, little prostitute, and his day is done, you know. That's how it was in the 1800s. So I actually found that era quite interesting. So I began to write about it. I began to build a character that I called Madame Bequette. And where I got the name from, my family name is Bequette. And actually the main character, her name is Madame Claudette Bequette. And Claudette Bequette is actually a real-life relative of mine who actually existed back in like the 1800s. I think she was like my great-great-aunt or something like that. But she wasn't a brothel owner. I just thought the name was kind of cool. So I used the family name to incorporate in this story that I wrote. But sorry, Auntie Bequette, if this is any disrespect, I apologize. But okay, let me get to the meat and potatoes of it. Okay, again, a lot of these stories that I wrote were part of a blog that I had some time ago, but here is the beginning of it. It says, okay, here's what's brewing in my writer's kitchen. I've been having the idea of a character in my mind for the last month or so, and have finally decided to put her on paper. I would like to introduce you all to Madam C, who is a brothel owner in the South back in the late 1800s to the 1920s. I'm still debating if I'm going to turn this idea into a novella or just a short character study. Please take time to read all the parts of this story because it's going to be very entertaining and intriguing. My mind is on overload right now, so this is where I start the story. It's called The Story of Madam C. It says the year was 1921, and the weather was a sweltering hot heap of a mess down here in the Louisiana swamplands. But goddammit, my brothel was the hottest ticket in town. Everybody who was anybody has strolled through these halls and had a taste of the finest black asses to ever walk a plantation. The girls were exhausted from working all night, while the men stumbled about the hallways drunk with laughter. This was the only place in the South where whites and blacks could coexist in a peaceful manner and not feel the strains of prejudice and separation. The local voodoo priestess had just given 4 bootleg abortions to some of the girls who had become in the family way, and afterwards we drank cold lemonade spiked with gin. Luckily for me, Tambo was a voodoo priestess with a weakness for whiskey, so as payment I would simply give her an entire case of bathtub gin and whiskey. Tambo had been a friend of the family for over 50 years, and now well into her 80s, she doesn't move about as fast as she used to. And I'm not sure if it's because of the whiskey or her age. She got the name Tambo from her late husband, who was also heavily into voodoo, and would often use tambourines in her spells and rituals, hence the name Tambo. Lord child, that woman would shake that tambourine over my girls when she thought that they had a demon or a hex, and it would drive me absolutely insane. I myself was getting too old to be trying to keep up with these 20-something-year-old gals. Hell, I'm 64 years old, and I surely didn't want to be peddling pussy and bootleg liquor for the rest of my life. I've done it for 40 years already, and the girls today ain't nothing like the girls I managed back in the 1880s when I first began. But I can't complain, though. I've had a good life considering that I'm the daughter of slaves. Both of my parents were mulattoes and could pass for white, and so could I, which benefited me greatly. To my girls, I was just another white woman who only knew me as Madam C. Only a select few knew my real name or that I had black blood pulsating through my veins. Only a select few knew anything about Madame Claudette Bequette, and that's how I like it. I've participated in some of the worst activities known to man, so keeping my identity a secret is not only important, but my safety depends on it. To be continued. So, I actually wrote the second half of this, but I can't find it somewhere. You know, it's probably on some old hard drive that I no longer have. A lot of the interesting shit that I used to keep on this old hard drive is just in like fucking hard drive heaven somewhere floating around. So, you know, that sucks to be me because I had a lot of great shit on there. But anyway, this particular character that I wrote, Madam C, as I talked about, was a mulatto, and she was the daughter of slaves, right? And in the story, I remember that I made her parents like first cousins or something kind of weird or fucked up like that. I don't know if I made them like first cousins or brother and sister. Or something fucked up like that. I wanted to just kind of shake it up a little bit. But yeah, her parents were slaves, and they were both mulattoes, and they were both brother or sister or cousin, first cousins or something like that. I remember that was kind of weird, but an interesting twist that I wanted to put on this story. But yeah, I'm gonna really get back into writing. I want to really get back into trying to build some creativity here, because like I said, once I stopped writing and stopped drinking and just kind of like merged into this normal 9-to-5 routine that I'm in right now, I've lost a lot of my creativity. I mean, so much of my creativity comes from my wild and free-natured just demeanor, and a lot of that has just diminished over the years. Well, not the years, just over these past couple of years with me having to fucking enter the workforce again and, you know, have to really censor what I say because people around me don't like this or don't like me to talk about that, and you know, and I love the people who I'm surrounded by now, I do, but it's just like they're so different, and I feel like I have to filter everything. I don't like feeling like I have to filter everything I say. That's why this YouTube is going to work for me, because, you know, if I get 1,000 people who watch this video, there's going to be some that don't like it, that think that I'm just out there, and then there's just going to be the few that like, oh my God, I like this girl. She's cool. She might be different than me, and her viewpoints might be different than mine, but I like her. I like her because she's authentic, and she talks about shit that certain people are scared to talk about. I want to come on here and I'm going to talk about some shit that a lot of people are afraid to talk about, afraid to put out there. One of the things that I'm going to talk about is teenage promiscuity. As a teenager, I was rampant promiscuous, just like a dog in heat. But I hid it well, so nobody ever knew. Everybody always thought I was either a lesbian, or they just like, oh, she's just this quiet girl. But they didn't know. They didn't know the secret that lied beneath that. But I'm going to discuss that. I'm going to talk to you all about that. I'm actually going to write up some stories that I have about my teenage trysts and rendezvous, and how I got on a bus and left town at like 17 years old to meet some guy off of a chat line. Yeah. Very ratchet. I was a very ratchet teen. But I just consider it experimenting. But anyway, I'll get into that in another video. But I'm going to go. I'm going to see if this uploads. If not, you all just going to have to wait till I get this shit figured out. But, peace.